Dear Josh and Jordan, I'm a single woman in my late 20s who just bought my first home. There's a sweet young man, 23 years old, I often speak to at church with special needs who knew I was moving and asked for my address. Somehow, he and his mom concluded we now lived so close to one another, and he would come visit me sometimes. In actuality, I live 30 minutes away from them, but I still said he could come over sometime with his mom, and I can make lunch for them. That following week, to my surprise, he unexpectedly shows up to my home on his bike. Wow, I made him lunch, as I said I would. Then he wanted to watch Disney Plus until late that evening before eventually leaving. I called his mom later on, and apparently she knew about his travels and was totally fine with it. He rides his bike everywhere, she laughed. I didn't think too much of it until he showed up 3 days later, then again the next week, then immediately the day after that. I've told him, I can't have you over all the time, Timmy, but I guess he still doesn't understand, and I'm too much of a spineless jellyfish to say anything directly to his mom. She's also begun asking if they can carpool with me to church since they now live so close to me, which I politely refused, and now I think I'm on her bad side tips. Signed, not sure what to do. Wow.
Now, am I wrong?
There's no specific instance that I can relate to this, but yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But I feel the feeling that she feels.
Yeah.
You're a nice person.
We were
things.
the people came to our house growing up.
Yes. A lot. And that was great. But at some point it was like they didn't understand.
Do you remember when that night that we actively avoided our house because we knew people were there?
Well, and what's weird is that we weren't even alone. We were like at a party with people that we didn't really know that well. But we decided to stay there instead of go home because we knew like every single human being on the planet was at our house that day.
We weren't even there. They would all just go to our house. That's true. I never thought of how weird that is.
I mean,
if people would live at our house,
which was fine, but then at some point when it was like, oh,
when are you leaving?
There's no end to this. Like you don't realize that this is a thing that's happening.
And our parents just were like so nice.
See, they were the parents that our friends never had. That's the thing you got to think about. That's why it wasn't like us. It was like the family. Nobody has people that was just different. I don't really know. Like that's what it was. So they wanted to be there even when we weren't there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It was a very welcoming home.
Which is great. We're super welcoming. But at some point it's like we're falling apart. We're falling apart at the seams.
Yeah. This is a tough one. What do you think, Jordan? What should she do?
Here's the thing. You can be a nice person and tell somebody that they cannot come over anymore. That doesn't mean that you're a bad person.
Yeah.
That means that you are a good person because you're putting good boundaries for people. Mm-hmm. Like you can have this guy not come over every second of the day because obviously you want to be a nice person, but you don't want this person to come over constantly because that's not right, you know? So you can set that boundary and then still you be the one who decides the terms and conditions of how this comes about, not the other way around, because clearly there's some social abnormalities here that this person's not understanding. So it's up to you to be the big sister or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's just you're the parent in this situation.
I think that the part of the issue for her is that she feels like she's being wrong or bad or selfish by not wanting to spend time with somebody who clearly needs a friend.
Yeah.
I can relate to that feeling. And what helped me was kind of purpose in my mind and say, okay, I am going to go out of my comfort zone to be there for somebody who needs a friend. And since I'm doing that, I'm also going to set a boundary and say, hey, I can only do it at this time and this time and this time. So it's not like I'm saying, look, I don't want to be around you and I feel terrible about that and that's my boundary. Mm-hmm. It's, hey, I want to be your friend.
But this isn't how friends act.
Right. But
This isn't like a friendship if this is
Yeah.
what's happening. This is like this weird thing.
And I think that if you can kind of give yourself some grace there to recognize that you are not a terrible person for wanting to set a boundary. And if you're also, still want to have that servant's heart and help this friend out, then it makes it easier to set those boundaries.
Yeah. You are doing the right thing. You're doing the wrong thing by just letting this happen constantly, because it's going to make you bitter, and then you're not going to be
Right.
necessarily the nicest at some point.
Right.
I've been there.
It sounds like the mom is sort of in a situation where she wants her son to have friends, so she's trying to encourage this friendship, but it's not happening in the healthiest way. I'm trying to, trying to give everybody as much benefit of the doubt here as possible. I don't think there's anybody who's really being a bad person here at all. There's just a lot of imperfect people who all need love and care in different ways.
That's right.
So
you're not a bad person. So get that out of your head. Don't let that hold you back.